welcome to the Scene World podcast.
Hello, hi.
Welcome to our new section with Dennis Karimani, Remute, and me. Yes. So, in a minute, I will talk to Sashaun Bailey, also known as Empress Nile, from the Valkyries Arcadia, the all-women gaming group in Jamaica. And she is actually related and the wife of Triforce Johnson, who is head of Empire Arcadia, which is the, man gaming group.
The player, he's the player.
Exactly, the main player. And so now we are talking to both and learning more about women gaming in Jamaica. So that's about that. And before that, I've written down the news because quite some things happened. First of all, shortly afterwards, you will listen to this. There will hopefully be a playlist with our Gamescom interviews from the business area of this year's Gamescom. I and Dennis, we weren't present, but
it will be next time.
Exactly.
Next year.
But others of our group were. Exactly. And so I will link to that playlist, i.e. Dennis will put it on the social media as soon as it's available.
We'll spread the word.
Exactly. Yes, I mean, a lot happened at Gamescom. See, for example, Tjeerd Knording announcing a new Alone in the Dark.
Wow.
You know, that was quite amazing.
The first survival horror game is back.
Exactly. Yes. Well, most actually say it's known because it's an Amiga game, but I personally played it on the PC because I never had an Amiga when I was a child.
Same with me.
Yeah. So I'm more from the DOS side of gaming here. Yes, and also at the end of September, as it was announced yesterday, the new Monkey Island will be finally released. And that's also interesting, especially because we mentioned it in earlier episodes. People sometimes don't like the graphic style, but personally, I don't really mind it. I'm more about the gameplay and stuff.
Yeah, I'm very interested about the storyline and the deepness of the story. I think that's more important than the art style.
Exactly.
I'm not a fan of the art style too, but I think a good story is more important.
Interesting. Yeah, I see the same. I think it's the same. But also important is the music. And there is my first news item from my list. And there has been a new SID play released. A new SID play that's a player for SID files for Commodore 64 music. The first one for Windows since 2005. And so it's actually SID Play 3. And it can be downloaded from the Commodore Scene database. That's quite nice.
Wow, I mean that's a late update. I think a couple of years later.
Yes, it's actually a new project maintainer that decided to. I guess it's a fork of what was originally released for the Windows machines. Well, the thing is, SID Play, the whole thing is actually something that was invented in the late 90s, early 2000s by Simon White. But Simon White, I mean, I have been in touch back then because of having a hard SID PCI card back in the day and trying to get it to run in Linux. And he only worked on the Linux side of things. And so Windows ports were always scared of the SID player, or SID Play as it's called. So Yeah. And after some point the developers are like, why would you need an update? The old player from 2005 still works in Windows 11 nowadays. But despite that, there has been updates to the SidPlay engine afterwards. So it's good that now picked up the torch and continues the development even for Windows users, which is nowadays still the largest user base,
Indeed.
So it's a good thing. Yes. Especially for you, if you ever decide to release SID music of your own again.
Definitely. I'm pretty much into SID music and working on something, but still not there, but probably in the future.
Interestingly, the reason why there was a version released in 2005 for Windows was actually me, because I discovered a bug in the player. If you played any music longer than 7 hours, it would the music would hang like a record,
So you played music longer than 7 hours and discovered the bug, yeah?
Exactly, yes. Because at some point, back in 2004, end of 2004, beginning of 2005, I was actually having different living conditions, and I had a smaller flat where my PC and my Commodore 64 were in different rooms.
I see. Okay.
So the player was running on the PC unattended, and after a certain amount of hours going back from the Commodore 64 to the PC in the different room, I noted that the music hung.
Okay.
So that is how the bug was discovered by me and actually fixed and resolved by the developer.
Cool.
Well, unimportant nerd knowledge. Well, coming to nerd knowledge, the Japanese game developer Masahiro Sakurai actually created a YouTube channel about game development. Of course, it's in Japanese, but with English subtitles. And that's quite interesting because, because of cultural differences and stuff, there are not many Japanese going out and talk about that because of, how people are in Japan. So it's good to have somebody going forward and say, like, I'm going to the public and tell what I know about it, and I'm especially creating a YouTube channel for it.
That's pretty interesting.
That's quite interesting. Sure. Yeah. And I mean, we from Scene World, we are primarily focused on niche areas and talking to people and preserving knowledge about parts of the world where there's not much known outside of that particular region of the world. For example, today talking about Jamaica, or in the future we will also have an interview of the computer history, home computers in Argentina. So things
worldwide.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, well, that's about it. And the next thing I've got is that there has been a new release on Steam called Arcade Paradise, which actually a game that simulates running an arcade hall business, from, bringing the trash out to cleaning the toilets to actually playing arcade games on simulated arcade machines.
Amazing.
So the whole business is covered there. That's pretty neat. So we will link to that. I didn't try it yet because I didn't feel yet to clean the toilet in a game, but I will try it out perhaps next month.
It's an important task. I mean,
True.
I remember Theme Park, the game. You have to clean the toilets too, because
True.
if not, then the park would have to close down.
True.
It's a very important task.
True. Yes. Well, and another thing also released on Steam and other platforms is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Kawabanga collection by Konami. And that's quite interesting because that collection not only has the arcade games, USA International and Japanese, but also the Game Boy releases, and it allows you playing certain games in the collection online via the internet or couch co-op. And it's a very accurate emulation. And interesting thing is they also implemented features like removing the flickering due to the sprite limitation of the NES, for example. So you can actually play the NES games without the sprite flickering and game slowdowns if you choose so.
They were flickering a lot, I remember, but
yeah,
they were great games, but flickering a lot. And,
exactly. Yeah.
Great memories of the arcade version on the NES. It's amazing. It's an amazing brawler, and I think it's in general it's a pretty cool collection. I think 13 games. Yeah.
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 Exactly.
I think you get a lot for the money.
Well, some YouTubers criticize that not all the versions of the games are included.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have the Mega Drive / Genesis and the Super Nintendo versions of all games. But still it's amazing. I mean, for example, if you want to have a legal way of getting the Turtles back in time from the arcade, in over 10 years, I've never seen the arcade board anywhere on eBay for buying. Yeah. So you could only play it not so legal using MAME. So
sure. I mean,
now you have a legal way of playing the arcade game.
Indeed. Even Turtles in Time on the Super NES is pretty expensive nowadays as a cartridge, and so
true.
We all want to play legally, of course, and this is a very very good deal for legal versions, I think.
Yeah, and what I really like about this collection is the attention to detail. The sound emulation is good. The games are playing at the right speed, which is always a problem with old console games. I mean, for handheld and arcades, not an issue because handheld and arcade games always play in 60 Hz, but the NES, Super NES, Genesis, Mega Drive games had different releases, 50 Hz, 60 Hz, and even back in the day, many games were not properly fixed for the music. For example, there is this famous RoboCop 3 for the NES that has the same music by Jeroen Tel as for the Commodore 64, but the NES has no lead voice.
Yeah.
But a tougher bass line, so better drums. But for the European release, the music is playing too slow because they focused on the American release, implemented a fix to slow down Jeroen Tel's PAL playing routine to play on the right speed on American. The difference is about 25%. But when they did the European release, they only fixed the scrolling of the graphics, so the game wouldn't crash because of timing. But they never removed the adaptation of the music for American NES, so the music plays too slow because it's artificially slowed down as it would if it was an American or Japanese NES/Famicom. So I guess it's probably something that back in the day a lot simply didn't care, or they forgot, or they didn't know, or whatever. But it's amazing that only the American release has the music at the right speed of a European composer. And the good thing with the Kawabanga collection here, and what Konami actually did here in those collections, they did other collections before. They really fixed on getting those details right, and that's really good. I'm really liking that because a lot of publishers don't care. You can buy a lot of compilations on Steam that is utterly unfixed, and there's not much work put into it. For example, when you play the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle arcade game, normally you would select the character after you inserted a coin and so on. But since this is simulation and it's not possible, they actually included additionally a character select screen before the actual ROM of the game is starting. That means the ROM of the arcade version of the game is actually started probably with an argument of the right turtle you selected prior to starting the actual ROM of the arcade game. So it's clever. It's adding something in front without modifying the game itself. It's really smart. So the people who worked on the collection really did know what they were doing.
So it's a great deal, as I said.
Yes, yeah. Well,
some accurate
certain games, and not only that, you also have solutions, guides, and the guides are interactive. If you are in the game and you can look at the solution guides, there are even videos pre-recorded of how to beat a boss in a certain game.
Yeah.
And they even included long plays. So you can actually let the game play by itself, and then you can interrupt the game and continue playing at that part yourself.
Very good.
Including all the normal functions like rewind, save, load, and so on. So they really put a lot of detail and nice feature in the collection. So I really like it. A lot of people said, why would I buy the collection for 40 euros? That's too expensive. But if you noted all the details and all the work and the extra bonus material that was put into, and they even put into concept art and all that stuff. So all that stuff, many companies actually trash after a while. It's all included in the collection. So from a standpoint of a historian, it's really awesome. If you want to have the knowledge and want to preserve it, that's also a good option to buy this collection. And you even get the box art and stuff, and you can even zoom from all sides, and it's in high quality and so on. So whoever compiled the whole collection, they really went into lengths of getting all the material. So you're getting a lot more than in other collections of that kind. Just my personal opinion. Well, so what's next about our news? Well, there's a new game that was, well, I guess it was released on Gamescom. I mean, that is where I saw about it, and that's by Dr. Wu, aka Christian Kleinser, called Straight Up, which is a four-player platform game, and you can download it for free from the
he makes amazing stuff for the C64
page.
General. I think he's a great guy, and
that's true.
Good stuff.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, Christian Kleinser, we had him in the panels in the last years at Gamescom. We had him for the podcast. Very creative, and he never gives up.
Cool guy.
Yeah, and as Tommy Tellerico once said, the advantage of developing everything alone is it's cheap, because you don't have to pay anybody else. You're doing it all on your own. Yeah. Well, so, and last but not least, I also got the news that the former Retro GamesCon organizer actually released a child book or is releasing a German child book on Kickstarter called Moses das Mondschweinchen, which means
sweet,
Moses the Moon Pig, and well, yeah, and now I totally forgot.
What's it about? The Adventures of Moses the Moon Pig.
Yeah, it's actually a child book, so it's basically with pictures and stuff, and it's actually written under her pseudonym called Paula Schwanitz. So yeah, and yeah. So we will link to that if we have German listeners who have small kids and want to help making a small child book coming to light. Yeah. Well, and that would be all from my side. I have here. So quite a lot happened since August in the last few weeks.
The scene is alive and
true.
Kicking.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
True. I mean, there are many collections being released. I mean, we spoke about the Sonic collection recently, where people were disappointed about how the collection was done and stuff. So it's always nice to report about collection where everything was done correctly, and in the way people like me who are very detail focused can say, that's awesome, going for it. Well,
all right.
And are there any news from you? Any news from Remute? Any music reviews? Anything we should mention?
Yeah, just had a release on Minidisc, additional EP release from. This is kind of bonus release for my Game Boy Advance album Unity.
Nice.
The Minidisc is called Division, I think the opposite of Unity, and it has some pretty interesting industrial vaporwave tunes on it, and just came out.
Awesome.
And I'm always working on the next things, and yeah, there's a lot of things to come up for sure. I'm never relaxed and chill.
I like how when I look out for interviews with you on YouTube and you spoiler something in an interview. I think it was for Retro RGB or something, and a day later it's actually in Wikipedia in your English article, like, and then it's first mentioned in this and that interview, this and that album coming out.
Yeah, sometimes it's pretty quick, I think. And, that's funny.
Nice. I think I saw a picture of that in your Facebook earlier today, or was it yesterday?
Yeah, I posted it today, the Minidisc. And, pretty interesting because I like to do releases now and then on minidisc, and I only did re-releases of my previous albums from the last couple of years on minidisc, but this time this is an original release on minidisc, which never was released before, and so yeah, I really like the format. It's pretty handy, and it has some kind of sexy early 2000s vibes.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it's that format by Sony, right?
Somehow, yeah. It's a kind of custom compression algorithm. Sounds pretty good. It came even before MP3 was invented, and it was pretty futuristic back in the days, and yeah, pretty cool to collect.
Yeah, and there was not only a mini disc, but back then there was also a mini cassette.
Indeed.
Format.
Yeah.
I remember that early telephone answering machines had mini cassettes.
Indeed.
And I remember in the late 90s there were people that had Discman and mini disc players too.
Yep.
So it looked like a CD but smaller form factor. And it's interesting. I have, for example, I have a Technics stereo in my living room, and the aux, the external audio connector is actually called DAT, which is the digital audio tape, DAT.
Yeah.
So that was interesting, because early stereos had two external connectors, for example, aux, or in my case DAT, that was without pre-amplifying, and then you had phono for records that was pre-amplified.
Yeah.
And if you connected a device to it that wasn't a record player, you would actually get big disturbance noise by it.
Indeed.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super interesting. But anyway, we are not an audio that format podcast, but just some nerding about audio stuff. And there are still people ordering mini disc albums, yeah?
Yeah, I'm pretty surprised. There's a pretty steady scene for it. Still buying mini disc releases, and also a lot of other labels are also releasing on mini disc, and you can find a lot of cool vaporwave music on mini disc nowadays, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
I guess the major issue is getting a player for it, right? As
Indeed,
it's a dead format.
Indeed, yeah. You have to check out eBay and get a fully functional mini disc player, which can be tricky, yeah, for sure.
I mean, for example, nowadays you can get tape releases again, and
yes.
I actually yesterday I've seen that TIAC actually 4 years ago they released a new double tape deck for hi-fi audio equipment to actually connect to your stereo from back in the day or something. So that's super amazing. Yeah. So either the people that order it from you already have a mini disc player, or they need to get it from eBay.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope they will get an MD player, because it's pretty cool to listen from mini disc, because it's actually pretty high quality. Almost CD-like. I don't hear a difference between CD and mini disc, to be honest. And so it's a very cool, small, collectible item.
And how is it for you as a producer? Is it expensive?
Yeah, it can be tricky to get mini discs. I usually get them like new old stock. Yeah. old new stock, and it can be pretty tricky to find some supply of mini discs, but somehow I still manage to get them here and there and make new releases, and it's pretty fun.
Awesome. So you might be the last musician ever releasing it, if they ever run out of new old stock.
Yeah, I'm getting them all and and flooding
Awesome.
with my music.
Awesome. Well, so now
Okay.
we spent half an hour talking about news. So now let's move to the interview.
Let's go.
Talk to you then. Bye.
So we also got some late minute news that we didn't want to keep away from you. So I will read it off. First of all, Joe Lewandowski, the person who led the Atari Duck back in the day, and we actually interviewed in 2015 after he came to Germany for a press event at the Frankfurt Film Museum. He actually reappeared on eBay. Either search for user Joseph 1825-1289 or search for Atari Dick cartridge to buy one of those duck cartridges from him again. Yeah. And the second news is that in the US, the CRX event is happening between September 23rd and 25th. And as a part of this, during CRX show, there will be also the Bitscape happening on September 24th. More info on that either at the homepage crxevent.com for the CRX event or at facebook.com/Bitscape Showcase to learn more about Bitscape. That's it. And now let's finally really jump to Jamaica for the interview. Enjoy. Today we have another episode of our podcast, and today we actually have two guests. And the first guest would be, you already have been on the podcast, Triforce Johnson, welcome back, and Empress Nile. And I wrote down, you are the executive director and manager of the Valkyries, right?
Yes, I am.
Nice to have you here. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
From what I've learned from the past interviews, you are actually head of, how to say, a female gamer group? Or how should I say it?
It's a gaming group.
Yeah, we're a female gaming division of Empire Arcadia.
Division, okay. We had covered Jamaica a lot in the past, and especially female gaming, and I know when we spoke with him before, he said it's actually a big thing that's coming right now. And I actually saw on your Facebook you have recently been quite busy on events. I saw.
Oh yes,
Anime.
Exactly. So tell us a bit about how it happened that you do this, what you do now, how it all started.
It's me. I started gaming from I was very young, like 6 or 7.
Wow.
My mom gave me my first PS2, and that was my baby. And then I had a Atari, and then time passed. Those consoles broke, and then I grew up, and I met Triforce at a LAN center here in Jamaica. So there he showed me that there's this industry called esports, and it's about video games. People have teams, they select scores, award winners, and have records. And it's a multi-million dollar, near billion dollar industry globally. Mm-hmm. And I got interested in that. And then he told me about the Valkyries, and I wanted to be more involved. So I worked, and then eventually I moved up to executive manager and director of the Valkyries, and that's pretty much the rest is history.
Wow, so you said you started at 6 or 7? So how?
Yeah, my mom got me into gaming.
Oh, your
Yeah, her
mom.
mother's a game.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. That's interesting because I can relate to that myself. For me, it was my grandfather when I was 5. So I can totally relate to that when you say your family brought you to gaming, because it's exactly same for me. And so you stuck with the hobby, kind of. Interesting side note, you said your consoles broke? How did that happen?
She has a brother.
Okay.
Yeah, that and time passed and wear and tear and life.
Okay.
Time passes.
I see. Because
But now I have a Switch and a PC, so I'm moving back up.
now the question is if the Switch is more durable than those old Atari machines and the PlayStation 2.
Actually, anything Nintendo is more durable than anything. So, Nintendo systems tend to last longer than anything else.
True.
That's not to say the other machines aren't durable. They're just not as enduring as Nintendo. So.
True. So let's say, is there something you are specialized on? Is there a favorite kind of game or genre or anything?
I like a mixture, really. Not really set to one. I like games with stories, character story, there's an end, you fight with your friends, and social games like that. And then when I need to vent, I go to my first-person shooters like Call of Duty, and
Okay.
I deal with the rage there. But when
He's
I'm not
shaking
angry, I
heads.
deal with story games.
He's shaking heads. At the moment, you say first-person shooter. Nah, nothing for me.
I'm not really into first person. It's not that I'm not into first person shooters. I'm not into
Violence.
because I played Doom and Duke Nukem and Quake and stuff like that. I'm into fantasy first person. I don't like the concept of first person reenacting
Murder.
a real life war.
I see.
So
It's-
like
it's
games like, from a technical standpoint or from a game design standpoint, games like Call of Duty and Battlefield and those games that simulate real life history and war, or their propaganda standpoint, because it depends on what country you're coming from on it. I don't like those type of things because it's just like an entire generation skipped war, yet people are willing to actually play those games, and it teaches a younger generation about that violence. And it's having you role play the soldier rather than you simply learning as I don't want to say a scholar or anything like that, but rather than you learn, like I grew up watching the History Channel to learn about war. So there's context that's given to you as you're being taught what it's about. In a video game, there's no real context. You are the soldier. So you get to, in a fantasy way, kill people as a soldier from a propaganda standpoint. Depends on, I'm sure like in Russia or China or Germany, war, like Call of Duty is not as popular because who are you really on the side of the scope of the war? That sort of stuff. That's why I don't like those type of first persons. I like the fantasy because it got nothing to do with anything.
All right.
It's a video game, playing it, whatever.
All right. Let's try not to get sidetracked too much. I didn't want to create a discussion here about what is the better genre or not. It was just something I noticed. It was interesting for me. Anyway, the most interesting thing is I actually got aware first before I was aware of him, because I saw you as a moderator of events from the lab, from Wayne Benjamin. So
Yes, I'm the
actually
TV show
came into
host
the
for
picture
Lab.
for me first, because I saw you were moderating a lot of those events, those cosplay events.
Yeah, actually, Anime Confess was the Valkyries' first, as a group, as a brand, first convention. And it was also my first anime convention ever. It was my first time cosplaying, so a lot of firsts. And what helped was we were already known in the community. We were already welcomed, and we had our own activities, and we gave back to the community. So that was all around a good experience for me. I really enjoyed that, and I look forward to having more.
When was that? When did that start? What year?
Anime Confest, I think 2017.
17, yeah.
I could be mistaken because they said this is the fourth one. So you got to negate 2 years,
Yeah.
2020 and 2021. So if you're talking about 2022, 2019, 18, 17, yeah, it's about 2017.
So it's half a decade already. Interesting.
For the convention,
What if you say if you say 2017, that would be 5 years. If my math is correct, I'm not good at math. Yeah, interesting. So how was it for you to join all this thing and hear about him telling you this billion dollar industry?
It was really eye-opening because I love video games, and to hear that there is an industry where there's people making a living off of gaming, not just playing the video games, but game designers, cosplayers, gaming refs. I researched more, and you have gaming nutritionists, gaming doctors. I'm like, it's just like actual sports, but electronic. So that really was a huge eye-opener, and that just cemented the fact that I want to be involved in this some sort of way. So that's why I'm happy that I'm here.
Okay. You said you have some plans going forward. So can you tell us a bit about that?
Plans going forward. It's already the middle of the year, and we have some events lined up. It's going to the fall/Halloween/Christmas season. So I have a few events lined up. And it's also my birthday coming up. My birthday is in 2 weeks. And
August 21st.
The 21st on a Sunday. And every year I have events either leading up to it or on the actual day for the community. I like socializing a lot. So whatever I can do, I do it on that day. So I'm thinking about having a get-together the day before. There's a beach party.
Yeah, beach getaway.
A beach getaway with Anime Auto. That's another anime entity here in Jamaica, having a beach trip, and the Valkyries are gonna be there. And the day of my birthday, I want to have a pool party, which invites everybody. I want it to be free, somewhere big enough to hold a good number of people, and we have games and socializing and pretty much just chilling on that day.
Food.
And food. That's a huge part.
I see. Interesting. So, let's talk a bit. You said it started for you 2017. Was it a bit like before you met him that you had a break in gaming, or you would say you didn't game as much until you became aware of cosplay and the video game industry that's coming now to Jamaica? Or how was that for you? Or did you always play, I don't know, gaming on a mobile or on other consoles, regardless?
Well, hold on. Just so that we don't get confused.
Yeah.
Anime Confest started in 2017.
Yeah.
I met her in end of 2015, 2016. She's been gaming prior to that. Yeah, so it sounded like you was mixing up the two.
I thought that her gaming and this cosplay thing was coming at the same time. It wasn't.
Yeah. Oh no. Okay. So Anime Yoda. No, not Anime Yoda. Anime Confest is a separate entity altogether. The ones they run anime and so forth, and they focus mainly on anime and cosplay, and then they network with entities in Jamaica that are in gaming, and that's how they came across.
Okay.
So the Valkyries brought some gaming into it as well, and they do cosplay. In fact, this was our first year cosplaying ever.
First convention, first cosplay, all the firsts.
Okay, here in Germany, the cosplaying and the gaming community is very much connected to each other, so it's basically a lot of people do both gaming and cosplaying, and I thought perhaps it's the same for you, or perhaps it was at the same time. So it wasn't. It was your first time at cosplaying this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Good that we corrected that. Alrighty. So how is it for you cosplaying? How was it for you cosplaying the first time? How is the general How was the general feedback you received?
It was very nice, very nice. People were very interested in my character. I cosplayed as Erin Odan from the Cameroonian game. It's called Legend of the Odan. It's an RPG, and that's not really known on this side of the world. So pretty much I'm the first person in the West to cosplay as the Queen character.
Wow.
So people didn't know. So when they saw, they thought I was like from Zelda or something. And I was like, no, it's a game from Africa. And they're like, Africa? I'm like, yes.
Wow.
We create games over there. And they really loved it. They loved the cosplay. They just wanted to know who it was from. And I think they went up and looked up who the character is, and they liked the game. I think one person actually knew the game. And that was surprising. So, yeah, it was a very nice welcome.
So
You got a puzzle version again, by the way.
apart.
Just pointing it out. Yeah, it's like jump out, like Bejeweled.
Bejeweled,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a Bejeweled type jump out again.
Okay.
So they have a,
So you did a lot of firsts. That's interesting. This is why we do this interview, to cover things that are not much known outside of that little, I would say, bubble or community. So that's quite interesting for me, because when I talk to people, mostly they cosplay games or characters from games that are pretty much known, like Peach, Princess Peach from Super Mario Bros. Or whatever, or Zelda, yeah.
Lara Croft, or any characters like that. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But
Or
Zelda.
mainly from anime characters as well.
But here's the thing with Zelda, however, it's an exception, because some people don't know that Zelda is actually the princess and Link is the character, but that's a different story.
That's true.
Interesting. Yes, so let me ask you, how did you get involved in being a moderator for Wayne Benjamin and his Game Lab TV? How did that happen?
Yeah, I'm actually a TV show host for the lab, and
Exactly.
that's pretty much. Yeah, How did I meet Wayne again?
Not doing it.
Yeah, I met Wayne through Triforce, and I think I did a first episode. I was just testing something, I think,
Yeah.
and it actually came out, and it was very well received, and it went well. So Wayne was like, "Why don't you just do this? Just be the host. That's it. You're in." I'm like, "Oh." And then from then, I went into it more and more and did more shows. So I went from hosting the lab by itself to having 2 other shows. One is called the Combo. That is a review game where I go to different places around Jamaica. I sample food and I review it, and I also review a new game. So I grade the game and the food in different places, and it's a pretty cool feature. This next show, it's called The Experiment, where the Sage gets different games from developers. It's emailed to him, and I wonder what Sash would look like playing this. So you get our actual reaction playing the games for the first time on screen. Some games are very questionable. I saw a game with naked old men playing volleyball that I will never unsee that. I got a few horror games, so you never know what you're gonna get, and the reactions are very raw and very real. So those are the nice shows.
Wow, so you are doing a lot. You're moderating shows, you are gaming, you are cosplaying now, so you are really full into all this.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Is there anything you didn't do yet you still want to do? On your bucket list? If you have any?
Okay, I already did a convention. I already held events. I would like to meet the gaming legends. That is one thing I have not done yet. I want to meet, I already know Triforce, but I want to meet Billy Mitchell. I want to meet Walter Day, like the gaming heroes or stalwarts, basically. I wish they would come down to Jamaica, or because I can't travel. So I want to meet them before time passes.
Are you afraid of flying and stuff?
No, the embassy system is just not cool out here, so it's very hard for us to travel. So I wouldn't mind one nice event. I create a nice event, and I can tell I'm not the only one. I'm sure other people who are in gaming would like to meet people who have literally made esports a thing, like, because they're still alive, so why not meet them while they're still here? So I would like to do that one day.
From what I understood when I was spoken to Ben Benjamin, he said that this cosplay and esports and this whole industry is still in the starting points at Jamaica. At least he said it. So I guess probably down the road you will have your chance, and people from well, Twin Galaxies and other places would come to Jamaica and attend at conventions there, perhaps.
Yeah, that would be huge.
Meantime,
I'm doing those interviews a lot, and I think it also depends a bit on your perspective, perhaps. When I spoke to Wayne, he wasn't so sure if things are progressing fast enough. I'm not living in Jamaica. I'm not sure if you would agree or not. But he said there are too few people being involved in all this.
no, that's true. There are too few people. In terms of it not moving fast enough,
I think it's moving as fast as...
yeah, Jamaica's moving as fast as it actually can because there are too few people. So the two makes sense. Will it be forgotten or not make it? Nah, it'll make it, because what's going to happen eventually, in esports is already a global thing, but its global connection is focusing on the major players. And what I mean by that, the major players, I'm talking about like the first world countries. Once the first world countries are fully united and in terms of an esports global infrastructure, then the smaller countries will get involved. Jamaica, Africa, which is not a country, it's a continent for those who may misunderstand what I'm saying. Africa is already on its way, but Africa is not necessarily connected to any of the first worlds. And me going to Africa myself, we realize this, that America, Russia, China, Japan, and all these, and even Europe, they're not really connected to Africa. There's some stints that they do here and there, but it's going to be a while first. Once these guys have positioned themselves, or I guess once there's an official Olympic committee, at 2024, the Olympics is coming up, and they're trying to do something esports with it, although they did something like that in 2016 in Brazil with Rio. Eventually, Jamaica will get there. Whether it will get there on time or not really doesn't make a difference. Jamaica will get there eventually.
We're growing. The scene is growing, especially since more people are learning about. It's not just in who knows it is in it kind of thing. It's more people outside of the gaming and anime community are learning that something like this exists, and it's not even just in Jamaica, it's also globally. So outsiders are knowing, and corporations are getting involved as well. Shout out to Digicel. They sponsored our booth at Anime Confest.
I saw that, yes.
Yeah, it's a huge thing.
And game companies too, like Color Switch actually was the first sponsor for the Valkyries booth at Anime Confest. So yeah, it's like you said.
Entities are getting involved. So
I interviewed him too. I will never forget, it's the only guy I ever met in my life who had all his knowledge learned by books.
Oh, you mean David?
Yes. I was like, oh my god, how can that be? He told us he learned everything from books.
I can see why the books today versus books yesterday are completely different. So there's a vast wealth of knowledge from the gaming industry found in the books of yesterday, as opposed to today. You want to find any knowledge on anything, you simply go to YouTube, and then you're not going to get all the context to it as you would get in a book.
You mentioned growing in other areas of the world. I also saw that there are sometimes roadblocks you wouldn't assume to happen. Like just last weekend, we released the interview with Yuba Rahamani from Ghana. And it actually
GTC.
And actually YouTube hold the video for review for a couple of days. Probably because it covered Ghana and they were worried it could be about political issues or whatever. And I actually had to write to the support of YouTube partners and asked them to manually approve the video.
Wow.
So that was like, wow. I was like, wow, what kind of issues?
This is exactly why these forms of censorships and
Separation.
And systems of separation make it bad enough. Third world countries, developing countries, and developing regions have a hard time trying to build up their scene. On top of it, they just don't have enough people on it. Today's technology makes it so difficult for them to even get out of the gate. So, as you said, you pointed out, you did an interview with Yuba, and you had to go get it manually approved. And it's just an interview about Ghana in esports and gaming growing.
Exactly. Why would they? But in that whole what?
So, can you imagine what's being? Well, let's not use the word censored, because the censored would imply that it doesn't get out. Your article, your video with Yuba clearly got out, but this screening process is ridiculous. Yeah. So the only people who get pre-screening and pre-approved is America. Is that it? And everybody else has to be screened first? It's ridiculous.
Everything is political nowadays, even if we don't plan to. The first interview I did, I think it was the 6th podcast we did, or the 7th, a very early podcast, was with the Fractals, the all-female pro gaming group from Ubisoft, and they gave us a list of topics we cannot cover, like gamer girl gate or something that happened in 2008, I believe, in America, where people were against female gamers because female people are not supposed to work and live in the video game industry. I was like, oh my god, really? Do we really have to go down this road? This is
I don't see why I don't see why that wasn't covered, and it's hypocrisy on top of it, because guys were being censored the same way by corporations in terms of, what are you guys doing playing video games? Get a job. Get a real life.
True. That's actually true. Yeah, actually
and
true.
And then when the guys finally break through and get some type of foundation in gaming, then we turn on our own women and say the same thing that the corporations were saying to the guys.
I actually covered all of that in a panel I did at AnimeCon. Yeah. Pretty much all of that. Okay. The fact that women can't. First of all, we naturally look good. Just get that out the way first. So I think when people see that and be like, oh, she's using it for clout, she's a fake gamer, she's just trying to scam people. I'm like, no, there are actual women who look good, who are actually interested in the gaming industry, who do actually do these things, like myself and the Valkyries and other girls who are not even in the Valkyries. So I pretty much covered that, and that you should just stop it, because the fact that a lot of people were at Anime Confest, guys and girls, celebrating their love for anime or the Japanese culture in their own way, doing their sexy cosplays, their art, their music, their all of that. Why couldn't we take that same thing and just put it online? Why was that so weird? And after that panel that I did with Robin, people actually came up to us and thanked us, because nobody talks about it. They just go through it, and it's just something you don't discuss. But I think that was the first time somebody actually said it, and they were like, thank you, someone needed to say that. And that just shows how hypocritical it is. Like, come on.
This doesn't make any sense, because video games, there are so many heroines in video games, from Zelda, Princess Peach, Samus Aran, Lara Croft, Chun-Li. The list goes on. And when you look at the way video games are made, then and now, there's always been a female member in parties, whether you're playing Final Fantasy, from Phantasy Star, any video game. Women have always been a part of it. It's so stupid. I don't want to use the word hypocritical because the word literally is stupid. This is actually stupid that we like something in a game. We see sexy heroine characters, nice body, pretty face, long hair, etc., etc. We fawn over them. They're fictional at that. Then and our heroes look good, they got the Captain America body or the Hulk body, whatever. There's an allure, an appeal, an attraction to male and female characters that we accept because they're in the game. But then guys can go to Comic-Con and play as Ultra Instinct Goku, shirts off. They're ripped. They got pecs and all this other stuff. Or play as Kratos from God of War. Same thing. So whether it's a video game, anime, comic book, it doesn't make a difference. And girls will like, wow, he's good looking, he got a nice body and blah, blah. And they just appreciate it for the art of the costume that they're role-playing, for the character that they're role-playing as. But the minute it changes to a girl.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
It's everyone, like the Joker says, everyone loses their minds. And you're like, wait, so
the guys can do it.
The guys can do it.
Why can't we do it?
But the girls
it's already in the game. There's no different. Like the only thing you're different is you're actually seeing it in real life, being role played in front of you.
Yeah, it's true.
Why can't women also do it?
Yeah, let's look at some video games. Just take a moment here. Let's say Street Fighter, right? DJ has his shirt off. Sagat has his shirt off. Zangief has his shirt off. Fei Long has his shirt off. All of these guys are ripped. So if a guy came to AnimeCon cosplaying as their favorite character, and you have a Russian, you have someone from Thailand, you have a Chinese guy, and you have a Jamaican guy. And all their shirts are off. If you look at the new Street Fighter, Ryu has a skin, he has no shirt. In Street Fighter 6, Ryu has no shirt. Like, this guy's ripped and he's walking through. And that's cool. And someone comes and cosplays him, and the girls fawn. Oh my God, he got a great body, and they can enjoy the art. A girl comes and dresses up as Laura, Bayonetta, Chun-Li in different Chun-Li costumes, and it's like, why couldn't you play as a girl who had clothes on? Imagine a girl saying that. They come Ultra Instinct Goku, put on a shirt. Like, you're just taking that off because you have a body and you're showing off. You're like, no, this is how Ultra Instinct Goku looks in the game and the anime. And it's like, no, you're just using your body to get attention. Guys would look at girls and say, what are you, stupid? No, we're not. They're like, that's how Goku looks. But that's exactly what guys do to girls. And it's stupid.
It seems like our interviews always turn into politics and video games and how unfair the world is. Yeah.
But that's not politics. It's really an unfair social issue that's going on. Because that's not just in games. It's just in a part of life. Like, why do guys do that to girls?
Well,
it's a guy versus girl thing. Why do they do that?
I can only speak about how it was in Germany. It was actually the Harvey Weinstein scandal from America that swapped over and then disallowed certain clothes for female cosplayers at Gamescom, which is the biggest video game event in the world actually, with 500,000 visitors. And thus I said, okay, so because of this Me Too scandal, we can't have women cosplaying certain characters that show too much skin. And this is how it turned, at least here in Germany. This is how it happened. So what happened in America was a way to see things, was the reason to see things different in the German society. Honestly, for me, it didn't really make a lot of difference because I'm not this kind of guy going after girls like that or taking pictures without asking or stuff. But there are them other people that probably are more concerned about that. I always respect everybody. Doesn't matter to me how she or he dresses. At least that's what I'm trying to do.
That's called decency.
Yeah, but some guys obviously can't behave, and then they made this restriction upon everybody. Yeah,
so the guys who do the violation, you punish everyone else as the victims to his violation.
Exactly.
Makes sense. There's a word for that. It's called stupid. But yeah,
And
I digress.
it's not only in the video game world or cosplay world. It also happened that Formula 1 has no crit girls anymore since then. You know?
That must suck for them, because if that ever spills over into the other sports like basketball and football, it looks like we'll be getting rid of the cheerleaders. And once that happens, you're going to see the guys go, whoa, this is getting out of hand.
Exactly, this is how it happened, yeah. But it's good that we have this interview now, so you can stand up for yourself and for other women saying, no, that's not what we want. We don't want society to see us different or put more restrictions on what we are allowed to do or not. If I imagine I was a girl and somebody would tell me you're not allowed to dress as that, I would be like, what? It's my own decision how I walk around.
For Jamaica, that's not an issue, because Jamaica has a dancing culture down here.
We're very open, very sexual, very openly sexual, and talk about the darnest things in our music, and it's all around us. Especially the kids, they grew up watching Spice and Vibes Cartel and Mavado, so they very much know what's happening. So us cosplaying and doing what we do here is really not much of a difference.
Really, it's cosplaying is more, what's the word for this, tamed compared to dancehall. Jamaica is a haven where girls and there's a lot of girls who are in the anime and video games down here in Jamaica, where they won't really get that feedback or that pushback, because they're like,
you're in Jamaica, bro.
You're in Jamaica, exactly. So there are some people who will say some stupid stuff like, why are you girls dancing like that on the beach?
Why are you guys in those swimsuits? We're at the beach.
Yeah, and you think we're playing.
We're not joking.
There are guys who are like, why you girls have to be in bikinis like that on a beach? And we're like,
why are you girls dancing? We're playing Just Dance.
On the beach.
Right,
yeah, you're not allowed to dress up in a bathing suit and dance on the beach to Just Dance. You're not, although that's been going on in Jamaica before video games was even invented. But hey.
Wow. So hopefully things will not get so much influence to the negative, but it doesn't sound like it. You are staying independent over there. I mean, that's actually the thing. When the gaming industry and cosplaying and esport and so on is getting bigger for Jamaica, let's say in 10, 20 years or perhaps 30 years, there will also be more influences from outside. That will happen automatically. The question is what you do about it, what you do with it.
Jamaica is a lot more accepting now than it ever was. Back then in Jamaica, there was a lot of persecution to homosexuals and people who have alternate lifestyles. Now Jamaica is more tolerant. So they're not as accepting, but they're more tolerant. Back then, if you came out and said you were homosexual, there's a great chance you'd be killed. Now it's, look, if you're homosexual, keep that to yourself. Yeah. Or whoever is it that you're with, and whatever the case may be. So Jamaica is a lot more tolerant. The West has influenced Jamaica to be a lot more tolerant. However, the core of Jamaica's value systems are still African, and that won't change. Because whenever the West tries to come down to Jamaica and they try to push their lifestyle as this is the way it should be, as opposed to tolerate what we're like. Once it gets to this is what you should do, then it's like how T'Challa said in the Black Panther, no, we don't do this over here.
There was actually some government gathering in Parliament, and we have this thing out here called the buggery law. So it's pretty much the homosexual act, like you can't, no public acts of homosexuality and whatnot is pretty much outlawed.
That's also in the East, in Afghanistan and like Dubai and stuff like that. But go on.
But yeah, so I don't remember who it was, but somebody came in Parliament and they were like, we should work on repealing the buggery law, and everybody laughed. Yes. I'm talking opposition and the Prime Minister, both sides started laughing.
They're like, look,
like that's never gonna happen.
Look, if you want to be homosexual, that's fine, but you're gonna have to keep that private But if you're trying to repeal that law, the people, it's not really the
government, it's the people.
The people, if this same issue happened in Kenya, a CNN reporter was talking to the president of Kenya and said, why is there such a pushback against homosexuality in Kenya? And he said, it's not really a pushback. There's a law built into the constitution where the people of Kenya said, look, whatever you do in your personal life with your own sexual orientations, but we can't have that as public affection or as a show of affection, because they don't want that to, I don't want to use this word, but they don't want it to affect or influence the core of the culture that Kenya has always been. And the CNN reporter said, you're going to get in trouble. And the Kenyan president looked at him like, get in trouble with who? And he laughed at him. He's like, my people? I didn't create the Constitution. The people did. And that's what the people said. So Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, Jamaica, they all, Haiti, a lot of these countries all have something in common. There's a lot of cultural or fundamental principles from Africa that will always be a mainstay. They'll make some exceptions for tolerance and some exceptions for acceptance, but the core will never change.
Yeah, we got a bit sidetracked here. The original topic was the panel, actually. The panel you had. So what was actually the result of the panel?
The result? Pretty much people saying that they were happy that somebody said it. And that's just step one. The fact that everybody heard and they know, who even don't know about that issue like that, they know now. So it's pretty much just to work on it and work on openness and acceptance and inclusivity, because it's not like it's not happening. It's already happening. The fact that anime confests happen and guys cosplaying their favorite characters and women cosplaying their favorite characters, being all sexy together in their own rights, and like the fact that there's a fight with that same thing in gaming, really just a shift needs to happen, and that's just what left to happen at this point.
I think the problem is guys. That's the problem, because this problem permeates in all facets of society. It isn't just gaming, although that's what we're talking about. But for this particular thing that we're talking about, to stay on track, it's the guys in gaming and anime or pop culture, forms of entertainment. They're trying to control everything, and they're trying to control expressions. So guys can do what they want, but ladies can't. Ladies have to. If the guys are uncomfortable with what the ladies are doing, restrictions have to be made for them. But if the girls are uncomfortable with what the guys are doing, the guys go, you can't restrict us from our expressions. That's crazy.
It's so interesting, because when I remember when I grew up in the 90s, it was a non-issue for me. We would go to the library because it had a computer and it had Tomb Raider installed, and we went there, the whole classroom went there with the girls and the guys, and we all had fun playing the game. So we never thought about, she is a girl, she shouldn't be here or something. Like, wow, but perhaps as a child you have less, less stereotype, because as a child you don't think about things like that. It's put upon you when you become an adult. Exactly. Yeah.
When you become an adult, then you try to internalize a lot of things that, like, you really shouldn't internalize. You should really just focus on you, and your opinion is your opinion. How you feel towards something is how you feel towards something, but you shouldn't really impose how you feel on somebody else. So some people will, I never got this. This is social media in general. You pass a post, you read something you don't like, and you're somehow compelled to attack what you don't like. Whatever happened to just, no, I don't like this, and just scroll past it?
Keep scrolling.
Whatever happened to that? Or Facebook created these new options. You can
mute and restrict, and
I don't like this content.
Yeah.
Or content like that. So then it doesn't feed you that content anymore. Instead, people would then comment in a negative way.
But they wouldn't like that if someone did that to them.
To them, there you go.
Personally, I did that too. When somebody posted a picture of somebody vomiting or something, I was like, oh, I don't want to see that pictures anymore.
You just... If I see something I just go block this person.
Yeah.
That's it. And someone put out something, I don't even want to discuss what it was, but it was just so vile. I don't even know how it even got on Facebook. And in my mind, I'm like, how did Facebook allow this content to go on? And I just put block user. Period.
Okay, that's
the
extreme
comment.
option. Okay, that's the extreme
Yeah,
option.
I just like block. That's it. And so it's the same thing for guys who don't like sexy girls who do fan service, and whether it may be on the beach or for anime or video games, just
keep it pushing.
Ignore. That option's always been there.
Okay, I hope I didn't go too deep, but I'm really interested in opinions and how you see things. This is why we are going down this road here. It's interesting because for me it's a non-issue, but for society over there it's an issue for others, obviously. Interestingly, two weeks after we had the interview with the Fractals, Ubisoft actually decided to shut down the whole female gamer group, saying like gaming got now far enough. Oh, he had
Sorry about that.
No
Can you
problem.
repeat that?
We can cut that out, it's not live, so it's not a problem. Anyway, so 2 weeks after our interview, they actually dissolved the group, saying there's no need to advocate for female gaming anymore, because it became normal. I don't know if you would agree to that, probably not.
What do you think?
Normal, it's happening, but I would say it would be normal when people stop making a big deal out of it. When guys can stop restricting women into going into gaming. Literally, it happens here in Jamaica. When a girl would like to play FIFA or Call of Duty or Mortal Kombat, the guys pretty much run her and be like, what you know about this game? It's wasting people time. Other people don't like to play this game. So most times when I would go into the game shops, it's really the guys gathered around the console, and the girls are in the back playing Candy Crush or something on their phone. And it's not really inclusive in that area. But we are moving on from that. It's just a little irks in that area that needs to be fixed. But we are moving on. There is acceptance happening, and there is some inclusivity happening. It's just to grow from it, pretty much. So normal, I would say not yet, but it is getting there.
My take on it is that it should never become normal, because men are not women and women are not men.
There's that, like I was saying, we should be allowed to express ourselves in different ways without one fighting out the other.
When I look at women and men in gaming, it comes off more like women are just trying to copy what the guys are doing. So essentially, it's not really women, it's just the women version of the men. I liken this to like some of the comic book characters. When, just to give you an example, when there's Spider-Man, and there's two different types, there's several types of Spider-Mans, but let's try to break it down to just two. You have Miles Morales, and then you have Peter Parker. Now, they both wore the legendary Spider-Man suit, the originals. And the experiences of Miles Morales as an African Spider-Man and Peter Parker as a Caucasian Spider-Man are two different Spider-Mans. To normalize it and make it sound like, it doesn't make a difference, Spider-Man's Spider-Man, would be unfair, because everyone will then relegate Miles Morales to just Peter Parker's story and Peter Parker's experience and Peter Parker's life, and he'll just be omitted. The same would happen to girls. I think we mentioned this in a podcast with me and you.
We did, yeah, we did.
Women don't do things the same way as men, so it can never be normal. They don't use the bathroom like us. They don't take in things the same way as they're different from us. So this is one of the core elements of the Valkyries. When I formed the organization and I created the Valkyrie division, the reason why I am not the executive director for it, and it's the Empress that's the directors of it, is because I'm a guy I cannot express what a woman expresses. So me saying the Valkyries should be like this is just a female version of what the guys are already doing. What the Valkyries do, everything the Valkyries doing, a lot of people think it's me. It's not me, it's them. That's what they want to do. And if you look at the Valkyries and you look at the Knights of Empire Arcadia, we do two different things. The way they play video games and the way they enjoy video games is not the way we play video games and we enjoy video games.
True.
There are some similarities. Would the guys go to the beach and play video games?
We do.
True.
As a guy,
True. I see.
I wouldn't go to the beach and be like, hey guys, yo, Red, yo, you want to go to the beach? Let's go play Just Dance? No. We'll probably bring our Switch, and if there's a game like 1-2 Switch, capture the flag, and we're running after the flag, maybe, perhaps. But the girls will go there, and they'll take their Switch to the beach, and they're playing Nintendo Wii Sports, they're playing 1-2 Switch, they're playing Just Dance and stuff like that, and that's how they enjoy themselves. And yes, can they play Call of Duty and stuff like that? Yeah, of course. But as you can see, there clearly is a difference. So Ubisoft closing down the Fragile this division is a mistake in my opinion, because the way girls express themselves, let's keep it to like Just Dance, for example. How many times when y'all run a Just Dance competition, like when there's a guy versus a girl, how many times do the guys go, listen, please don't give me one of them girly songs?
Yeah, like literally, as before I pick the song, they're like, please, it's a girl song, and the girl, don't give me no girl song. Like,
they want a unisex song.
I do that for them because there are a few guy and girl duet group songs, so I pick that for them. But it's really funny.
Some guys don't want to dance to Todrick. They're like, no, I'm not doing that dance. So you have to pick a dance that's like guys.
Actually, someone did. I don't remember which tournament it was, but somebody actually tried. And when they start drop from, I'm not dropping.
They're not dropping, they're not twerking. They're comfortable in their sexuality, but they're like, I'm not doing that.
Dropping.
And you have some girls who are like, I'm not twerking either, and they're girls. So that just literally shows you the difference between guys and girls. So there needs to always be the freedom to express. And now with other orientations of lifestyles that there are out there, you have to leave that room for people to express themselves. You cannot just lock this up and like, the guys.
That's it.
I'm a guy, and even I'm like, nah, that's unfair.
Shouldn't be the goal in the society globally to not make a difference anymore, to just say, we are all gamers, doesn't matter what gender we have? No?
I think everyone's all gamers, and everyone, there are different aspects to it, regardless of your gender, your sexual orientation, your race, your nationality. An Arab gamer is an Arab gamer. Why? Because he's Arab. And there are things that they do in the Arab country that makes you go, this is interesting because it's different. If we make everything one thing, then it dries up because it's boring. Everyone's the same. So
that's why people like our Jamaican live streams, because the way how we do things and our little expressions and our culture mixed with the gaming is very interesting for people who have never stepped foot in Jamaica before. They literally get a taste of that through our live streams and our content. So.
Different language. It's interesting. It's like watching someone from China streaming video games versus someone from Korea versus someone from Japan versus someone from Dubai versus someone from Jamaica or Trinidad or the US or Canada. And you want the diversity. You don't want it all to be, because if that's the case, then America is going to be like, all right, we have all the power. It's American or it's nothing. Then it's like, no.
That's your point there. Okay. Wow. Wow, we are really going deep in here. We almost covered an hour. Oh my god. I know what's there left to cover. We got it all, even down to the political and society questions, how it should be, how it is, and hopefully things will improve and people will be more considerative about, as I said, the differences. And of course, the freedom and well, the freedom to express yourself and your hobby. And
100%.
Awesome. I'm totally speechless because we always seem to go in this direction totally deep.
That's life.
It's a lot of things. It's not just one thing. It's never just one thing. There are layers and layers to them.
Layers, exactly. And you have to understand why it goes into these depths, because 20, 30 years ago, in our era, make it sound like we're old. It was all about just the game.
True.
Gaming has expanded as a culture now. It's a part of our actual life. It's not just about the actual game and the machine. It's about the people. So
which is why you should give people the freedom to express themselves, because women and men are different, but where we come from is also different, and how we do things there is also different. So we need that range of different lifestyles and characters and places like that.
The diversity in gaming is now coming from the people, not the design of the games. The design of the games still add a level of diversity as well, but diversity to where we can relate to as people, the users, comes from the people. So video games is expanding because of that diversity. If you try to curtail that diversity, video games will just get bottlenecked and it won't grow as fast as it can be. So believe it or not, the diversity actually helps. The issue here is, and we covered this earlier in this podcast, is diversity. The diversity, not just the diversity, the tolerance of the diversity, of the inclusion. That's what's happening now. So every time you talk about video games, especially when you get into female, that's always going to pop up. You can't hide that because that's a part of what it actually is. It's always going to be that way.
Awesome. I guess that's a good verdict. What can I say to at the beginning? For me, I never made really a difference in my world about females or males I'm gaming with. I gamed with everybody when I was a child or an adult even. I didn't make a difference, but I see what you mean by diversity, and I totally get your point there, yes. But I guess it also depends on who you are talking to. I remember, as I said, when I did the interview with the Fractals, it was very important that I didn't say female gamer and male gamer, but only gamer, to not offense anybody.
But isn't that more like people's sensitivity? I think people are overly sensitive. Because I would like to know the difference between a female and a male gamer. They both express different things. So if you
never understood that. Like, why is it offensive? Like, we're obviously different people. We're guy is a guy, girl is a girl, male is a male, female is a female. I am a female. Like, why? I'm from Jamaica, so a lot of things that would seem offensive to the West, I'm still trying to understand. That is something I think I will never understand, because why is it offensive? It's what you are. It's what I am.
Yeah, so I don't see why. Like I said, I think it's a mistake on their part. I believe if the Fractals were still around, the Just Dance is huge, to be honest with you. But the Fractals could have been the official Just Dance girls for Ubisoft. But see, there's none. We don't want Just Dance girls. We want people who play Just Dance, and that's a fair point. But when it comes to Just Dance, women carry Just Dance. They really do. In Jamaica, the Valkyries definitely carry Just Dance. That's for sure.
The head of the last Fractals team is now actually a community event leader at Twitch. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a good transition. There's nothing wrong with that. He didn't fall from the tree.
True. Yes, if there's nothing else, I think we got it covered. I actually got more than I would ever want, I ever wished for. We went so deep down the rabbit hole. Interesting.
Fine.
Awesome. So thanks a lot.
All right.
Keep in touch. Bye-bye.
Will do.
Bye.